Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, The Bullpen. Today we have a very, very special person joining us.
Ah, thank you, Brutus.
I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Ron Gula.
Quick joke, how many hosts does it take to book Ron Gula?
How many?
One, I booked him.
Ha ha ha, but you are not a host. You are a sidekick.
Sidekick. Your other episodes were a giant cow flop. You should be my sidekick.
Ha ha ha. It was a giant cow flop because we didn't have the right talent. I'm sure the audience knows what it's like working with the wrong talent. We may still have a talent problem if you catch my drift.
Ha ha ha, I'm catching a drift. It smells like your breakfast sandwich.
Ha ha ha, you are funny, almost too funny.
Guys, I hate to interrupt, but Ron is waiting for you to start the show.
Hey, Mr. Gula, Ron, the Godfather. What do you prefer I call you? I've never interviewed a human before and want to make sure I follow the proper etiquette.
Hey, Brutus. I like Ron. Mr. Gula's my dad. I appreciate the etiquette. I've never really been interviewed by animated or real characters here before, so it's new etiquette for me too, Brutus.
I'm a bit nervous to interview you because you are the Godfather of Cybersecurity. I know you spent the last 25 years in this industry, penetration tester for the NSA, co-founder, CEO, and CTO of Tenable, and now the president of Gula Tech Adventures. Was this your dream job as a child?
So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a pilot. I actually went into the Air Force to fly, got my private pilot's license. Didn't work out for me. So I grew up thinking I was going to go into space, and now, of course, I'm in cyberspace.
Can you tell our listeners how you got into the field?
Yeah, the way I got in, and I like to share this story, and I tell everybody who has a career that they need to tell their origin story really well. But I'm here today because of UFOs.
What in the heck is that thing?
It looks like an alien.
Ron, I think you are being followed.
Ron, can your friend move so we can continue the podcast?
In the mid '90s, I was doing a lot of research on online about UFOs and whatnot. And I got really exposed to hacking, like right next to the UFO Zions, whereas frack and all these other kind of hacking tools and whatnot. And as an electrical engineer, can program computers, I was really drawn to that. And if you're going to do UFOs and hacking, it eventually intersects with the NSA. So when I went into the Air Force, I worked my way to get a job doing basically classified information security work. And this was the mid '90s. And I got to see and participate in basically the birth of cybersecurity industry as we know it today.
I love how you are defending forward, and I enjoyed learning more from your Translating Cybersecurity Industry video. I wasn't sure if it's because I'm a bull or if all of these buzzwords and acronyms are difficult for everyone to comprehend. What is your favorite new buzzword that makes you laugh?
Oh, I hate the AI term, right? I mean, we've been programming computers for a long time. I just don't like artificial intelligence because a lot of people just don't understand that it's really just software. Now it's groundbreaking software, but there's so many preconceived notions that we have from people who've watched, science fiction and Terminator and that sort of thing. So to ask the general public to kind of participate in this, which is really important, because as cyber people, we've done a really poor job sort of bringing the public into all these decisions and technologies that we do. So AI is the big one that I'm like, I think people don't understand that. And we all need to do a better job of understanding where our data is and what our social responsibility for protecting it and sharing it and so on. So AI is bad in my book.
I've heard you say maybe we need to use new words on including not calling the industry cybersecurity. What would you call it?
If you look at other industries like healthcare, we've had major advances in healthcare, but the human body hasn't changed a whole lot. You look at aviation, being a lawyer, being an architect, those are really professionalized industries, and everybody kind of understands what they do because the tech is changed a little bit, but it hasn't radically changed. Now, if you say cybersecurity and you talk to somebody who's in their 80s or somebody who's 18, they're going to have a dramatically different experience because their technology has completely changed. So when it comes to cybersecurity and the issues that we face, like struggles with nation states, just trying to attract people, minorities to our industry, that sort of thing. The word cybersecurity just doesn't mean what it used to mean to the general public. So we've been pushing this concept of data care. And data care, Cindy came up with this, my wife, and she basically took that as a model from healthcare. And healthcare, if you think about it, has many, many, many layers that we have in cybersecurity. There's the actual people who do like brain surgery and, they're the tip of the spear, but there's also people who are filling your order correctly at the pharmacy. Very, very important, but dramatically different skill sets. And we have the same thing in IT security. We have people who can, patch your computer. We have also people who can reverse engineer and detect the latest malware. And we just think for the general public, it's not a problem that they can't be involved in. They have to have some amount of risk decisions and understanding and taking a role in protecting their data and making some decisions about how they want to go forward.
What is the biggest factor people are missing when they are working to protect their businesses?
Think about like the CEO of a Citibank versus the CEO of a small restaurant, right? Both of those people are responsible for their business. The people who do banking and international trade have got, a lot of time defending money from bank heists, and they just pulled that kind of thought process forward into cyberspace. These huge budgets. But the small restaurants, they have no idea how to deal with like Russian online phone scammers who are basically, trying to, use maybe a password shared by the waiters and waitresses to get into the open table account and steal all the credit cards from the customers, right? We're not ready for that kind of involvement. And the issue is if we just start prescribing stuff to the small business, it's really kind of it's almost like lawyer chase. Like, have you been injured in an industry in this industry accident? Well, call 1-800, and we'll sue you and stuff. A lot of times, the cyber people who prescribe these technical solutions, like just use two-factor authentication or patch your computers or things like that, it's really like giving bad legal advice or bad accounting advice. And if we're going to professionalize our industry, we need to kind of say, look, whatever you're doing, you need to put data care, cybersecurity, IT on the same plane as your accounting and your legal and your human resources, because your business exists in cyberspace. And if you don't protect it there, you're going to get hurt there.
What is your kryptonite?
My kryptonite is the next pitch. So one of the things I really enjoy doing at Gula Tech Adventures is, we get pitches from so many different companies, and increasingly stuff that kind of looks like cybersecurity, but it's increasingly more about data analytics, creating better AIs, doing governance of data and that sort of thing. So my weakness is the email that I'll get, 10 o'clock at night, right before I go to bed. Hey, I've got this new pitch for this new idea. I'm always hoping that next pitch is going to be the next sort of great innovation to help protect people.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
I would like not to sleep. I mean, I enjoy sleeping, but there's so much going on. We all have such a limited time here on Earth. It'd be nice to have more time. I'm constantly making decisions about, can I go do this great thing with these great people, or can I go do this great thing with these other great people? And there's just, there's so many interesting things going on. You can't ride all the rides. I'd love to have more time.
I see you are still a maverick in the industry, driving education, insights, support and founding for new companies in the space. What keeps you passionate about the field?
So what I really like about our role in the industry right now is we really have a front row seat for like this intersection of innovation, policy work, and really at a time when the threat is really high. I mean, we're recording this in early 2024. We've got multiple major geopolitical issues going on in the world, and cyber's not the headline with all that stuff, but it's hitting home pretty close. And there's things that have happened in the world, like in GPS spoofing in Israel, for example. And my dad asked me like, "Hey, can that happen here?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can spoof GPS. An interesting time." And I hate to have a crises like that, have people realize how important their data and cyber is, but it really is making it interesting. And at Gula Tech, we get a lot of opportunity to whisper into the policymakers' ears, and really talked about like M&A strategies with a lot of the different big tech companies that are out there. And I'm just really happy that we're able to give back, to an industry that's done so much for us, but still has a long way to go.
What do you see as the biggest threat in this space? And please don't say aliens.
Aliens, right? Of course. Yeah, no, biggest threats are really interesting, right? Again, we're recording this in early 2024. We've got two major conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, and possibly one looming in the Pacific. But what's going on right now is there's been an amazing, cyber sort of espionage war, intellectual property going on for the last, 15, 20 years. And it just seems to keep getting ratcheted up. And we have had cities like the city of Baltimore taken offline. And, that's sort of a wake up call. But if you just look around at, all these different threats, it could be anything. I was talking to people who are worried about sextortion, right? The people who just prey on people for grooming them, and that's a whole nother issue than stealing money from banks. And if you look at like what happened in Vegas, where Scattered Spider went after MGM and Caesars, it's really interesting about who's paying and who's not paying. But what we really, really haven't seen in the general public is a military application of cybersecurity, right? We didn't say, hey, we shot down all those drones from Iran with a cyber attack or prevented them from launching. We had to shoot them down with missiles, right? But we are going to probably see some sort of major cybersecurity military capability like that, either against the U.S. interests or projected out, and that will really be a wake up call as to what can happen and what can happen out there. So that's what keeps me up at night.
One other topic you've mentioned, or I've seen you talk about, the principle of data care. Can you talk more about what this is and how it relates to the cybersecurity industry?
Yeah, so data care, we're trying to solve two different issues and that the cybersecurity industry faces. So the first one is the responsibility of protecting my own data. And whether you're on the board of a public company or you're, protecting your grandparents', hard drive, you have to have an active role in that. Now, if you look at the recent national cybersecurity strategy, which is a great strategy, it really says that the general public doesn't have the resources to do this. And they're right. Like if Russia came after me, Russia came after you, you don't have the resources to defend them. You have to kind of work with the government. But I think it kind of falls a little flat, basically saying that, look, people really do have a responsibility. When you look at most of these ransomware cases, it's almost neglect. It's almost that it's not there. So the term data care is really trying to make an appeal to people who are running corporations or doing personal work, that they have to take an active role with their data. Now, as an industry, we're investing at Gula Tech Adventures, but we're also trying to invest not only in technology but people. And one of the things we found with the cybersecurity messaging is that it's a turnoff for young women and African Americans. Now, if you go back about 4 or 5 years when we had some of the protests against maybe the police violence in the African American community, the word security is almost a non-starter with certain of those communities who've had a lot of police issues and just violence in general, that sort of thing. Trying to tack cyber onto that is really a non-starter, and it's very unfortunate because cyber, data care, IT jobs can all be done remotely. And if you look at a lot of these cities who've been hit with unemployment and economic challenges, you really don't see a whole lot of corporations and stuff going in there. There's great organizations out there like Year Up, NPower, Microsoft, Tenable. They've all got programs where they've gone into these inner cities and tried to work with this next generation of African American kids and getting them involved in cyber. And the word data care is a great way to get them in there. And then lastly, for young women, how often have you heard of a cybersecurity, pitch where you're like, yeah, I'm a hunter, right? I hunt China and I hunt Russia. I'm leaning in, and that's a lot of very militaristic type of terminology when it comes to that. And there's a lot of people who that appeals to, but not a lot of people. It also can be differentiating or a little bit jarring to people who, we basically say, oh, you want to do cybersecurity? Oh yeah, it's up to you and just you to be the only person in IT to protect your corporation from Russia or China. And something more like data care, where you're more appealing to taking care, nurturing, procedural types of things, it definitely appeals to a different side of that demographic. So we think data care checks a number of boxes that the cybersecurity industry has created inadvertently, even though they're trying to reach out, they've actually alienated a lot of the different people out there for doing a good job.
You love nerding out like me and playing with new tech. Any new technologies you're using people should check out?
Hey Zoe, thanks a lot for that question. So I love how much AI has come in to just creators. So we're everybody tries to put out videos and content. Have you guys ever thought about using like animation software to kind of reach the general public at a higher level? I really like some of the things that have happened. So if when I first started out doing, basically trying to do more podcasting and reaching users on YouTube, I kind of jumped on Midjourney really early. So I would basically do the talking head thing, and I would create all the images, with prompt stuff. And now, you can do that with video, you can do that with animation. So I'm enjoying that quite a bit. Dude, I'm animated right now, right? Dude, I'm animated right now, right?
Whoa, that was trippy. I think those mushrooms I ate just kicked in.
Spock or Captain Kirk?
Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk, because Captain Kirk knows when to listen to Spock, and he also knows when to bluff. And definitely a big fan of Kirk. And you didn't ask this, but like Kirk or Picard, I'm still on the Kirk side of things these days.
Great answer.
That is a great point. Since 2017, you have invested more than $100 million in 50 cybersecurity, AI, and national security companies. What should people in the industry know about some of these companies?
So when we came out of Tenable, we had started doing some investing, and we got to see a lot of different organizations that are out there. And we said, look, we're going to operate Gula Tech Adventures like a venture fund. It's all Gula money. It's all money that we've been reinvesting from companies we've had exits. But basically, our strategy is really we are trying to do sort of next generation cyber hygiene. We're trying to do next generation secure by design. And then we're also trying to do some investing in what I would consider national security type of next gen technology, right? So those are our three buckets. And in those buckets, we've got a number of companies that have just been, amazingly, doing things that sometimes I can't even talk about because they do work with the government and that sort of thing. But one of the things we try to do is bring cybersecurity to new people. Probably the best example of that is Huntress. Huntress is a managed detection and response company, but they are focused almost exclusively on small business, managed security providers, people who typically don't get the attentions of the bigger companies that are out there.
Wait, hold on, Ron. Is that the huntress sitting over there?
Hi, Brutus. Big fan of the show. Maybe I can come back on and be a guest on your show also.
Huntress, we are a big fan of yours. You are a total badass.
I think I am in love.
I spent a lot of time with SOC operators, people who hunt, the Russians and the Chinese. We'll invest in companies to kind of make their life easier. One of them was Polarity. Polarity is this company that uses character recognition OCR on the desktop, and it automatically starts doing searches into AIs and threat feeds, and it makes the SOC operator's job a lot easier of trying to determine if this is a triage event or something that needs to be escalated. So, plenty of companies out there. If you want to go to gula.tech, gula.tech, we got them all listed there, and a lot of information about what they do and how they do it.
Cuff, cough. I hear you were pretty bullish on Start Left Security. What makes Start Left so special other than, of course, yours truly?
Well, Brutus, I really appreciate being involved in Start Left Security. The one of the things we want to do with Secure by Design is get the programmers to make better products, right? There's a number of issues. If you have a bad product in the field, it's kind of hard to fix it, right? You got to patch it, you got to replace it, maybe buy a new one if it's hardware. So if we could only fix vulnerabilities before they get written, that's good. And what I like about Start Left is that you've gamified the process, because if you're a coder, you are always on a deadline. You're always being looked at. You're always it's a hard, unless you have a culture of building things secure and a culture of like very much supporting the life cycle of coding, doing waterfall, doing all these different processes. Usually coders are pretty stressed out. That's one of the reasons that you don't have a whole lot of secure code that's out there. So the thing I like about that is really getting all the way left, right? We're not shifting left. We're starting at the beginning with that culture there. So I think what you guys have done is amazing, and it's interesting too, because a lot of people, if you're coding today, you're using a lot of third party stuff. I think a lot of people think if you're coding, you write everything from scratch, but you're pulling in libraries from all over the place. And you guys are doing a good job at assessing the security and life cycle of those things too, and making it fun. So it's been fun so far.
Absolutely, we couldn't agree more. The human factor is often overlooked in cybersecurity discussions, yet it's crucial for addressing vulnerabilities effectively.
Empowering people, especially developers, with the tools and knowledge is the future. It's about equipping teams to proactively manage risks and build secure products. You are commonly asked to do interviews, speak, etc., etc. What is something you wish people would ask you more about versus some of the same topics?
So as much as we talk about cybersecurity and these nation state type struggles, I get a lot of people who will, come to us for advice for any type of tech company. Like we get companies who come to us for medical and healthcare, real estate, entertainment, things like that. And sometimes we're like, well, they just did that in cyber, and it's really not applicable to our industry. The reality it is, right? So we have something called the 5-slide pitch deck, which if you're raising, it says, what problem do you solve? How do you solve it? Show me some proof. What are you going to do with your ask, right? And then what's the success look like? I don't care if you're solving, trying to cure cancer or split the atom. If those are 5 things that are pretty good. And then there's a lot of stuff that we've been communicating to founders that like, look, basic things that we see. What are your finances? What's your cash flow? Are you going to be dependent upon your investors forever? Are you going to go to be a customer, be dependent on the customers someday, right? So we've tried to put all this information out there because we've seen so many great ideas get tanked by founders who just didn't have all the right people around them and the right decisions to succeed. So yeah, I'd love to see more businesses succeed because I think we need more successful entrepreneurs here in the country.
I wanted to save a couple of questions for last. Should I whisper? Shh. Are there any stories you can share about crazy things you encountered over the past 25 years?
Wow. So you want me to whisper it, Zoe? Like whisper it into the monitor like that? No. Uh, it's really interesting. We've had just being at Tenable, being at the various companies, we've had a whole lot of interesting stories, and it's kind of hard to share in some cases without triangulating. Oh, they were invested in this company back there. Sometimes it's very interesting. We'll get a pitch sometimes, and I'll be like, "Nope, don't want to invest in that. That's a really bad idea." And then 6 months later, the company's acquired at some insane right. Like those things happen. They're outliers, but they definitely happen. We have had, people that we've done business with do crazy things. Like not everybody who's an entrepreneur and a CEO is necessarily not doing criminal things. It wasn't involved in these things directly, but there's been things in our industry where, companies have gone to jail for faking, account balances by just editing in like Photoshop and trying to get people to invest and that sort of thing. So I'm constantly amazed by how often people are trying to, kind of dupe investors and that sort of thing. But for the most part, the industry has been pretty normal. So no UFOs, no alien investors, that kind of stuff.
What resource would you recommend to new founders?
So if you're a new founder, what I would just tell people is like, look, you could come to Gula.tech, you could watch all of our videos. We've got a YouTube channel. I call it the VC 101 track. Happy to, get feedback on that. We try to put a lot of the mistakes that we've seen or the questions we've seen that are out there. But the big thing I'm going to tell any founder out there, first of all, if you're thinking about founding a company, you really need to think about what problem you're solving, how you're solving it, that 5-slide pitch deck. If you can answer all those questions, you should think about doing that. But then the second thing is you should really think about who you're working with and who's going to help you. Now, help could be from your local economic development authority. It could be from your former university. It could be from, the general you work for in the Air Force that's doing entrepreneurship now, right? So you need to get your list of people who are going to help you, and you need to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And a lot of times I see founders they got a great idea, but they want to be the show. They want to be the nexus, and you really got to let go. And it's a hard thing for people to do that. But I would tell people, anybody who's thinking about doing that, that it's a fun journey, and you're going to affect the lives of a lot more people than your own.
Well, with that, I have to say this was the best podcast in the history of podcasting. What do you think, Zoe?
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Ron, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, Brutus and Zoe, good luck with your podcast. And, maybe we'll get to meet in person someday. I'm not too sure if that's possible, but I really enjoyed the time here in the studio.
Well, we love that you are a part of the herd, and as you know, we are just getting started.
Yes, thank you from us and our entire team. We are blessed to have you part of the herd. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron!